All right, so good morning. Hello, bonjour, gue, atela. Welcome to everyone to our coffee break. My name is Carol Spicer. Today is May 27th. Um, Perhaps spring is here in Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm not sure where you are joining us from, if spring is there or not, but we're hoping it's here to stay this time. Yesterday was definitely like a wintry day. We've got some new folks here. So for those that are joining, this is the Entrepreneur Coffee Break that I offer through Spicer Facilitation, which is my business. It's a group that really, as long as you folks want to attend, I will still offer it. We started the coffee break as a pilot in January 2020. We said, let's do it for 3 months and see how it goes. We all know what happened in March 2020. So we are now in our seventh year. So our pilot is going strong. So it started as a partnership with Navigate Small Business, and then they sponsored them for a little while, and then they stepped back. And I thought, you know what, there's still an interest, so I am going to continue to do these as part of my way giving back to the entrepreneur ecosystem, which has supported me in my entrepreneurial journey. And so as long as you folks want to gather, I will offer the opportunity to do so. Um, so I am going to do a couple logistic things here, get things started. I'm going to ask you to do some quick intros. So if you want to think
Okay, I got
about,
to join a meeting. All right.
yep.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. Okay, I love you. Bye. All right, love you. Bye.
Bye. Good morning, Terry Lynn.
Sorry,
That's
sorry,
okay.
sorry, guys.
That's
Sorry.
okay. No worries. Um, so first off, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that I'm joining you from the unceded territory of the Beothuk and the Mi'kmaq, which is known today as Pasadena on the west coast of Newfoundland and Labrador. I do ask that you think about the lands that you're joining us from today. Think about those that were stewards of the lands before us and our responsibility to be stewards of the land going forward. In our province of Newfoundland Labrador, we have 5 Indigenous populations: the Beothuk, the Mi'kmaq, the Inuit, the Innu, and the Southern Labrador Inuit. I know we have some folks from Nova Scotia, and I know there's Indigenous populations there that I don't know all the details, so I'm not going to try to guess. But I do know there's some Mi'kmaq there and some other treaties, I believe. Um, so I think it behooves us as we join from a vast array of locations that we think about those that have taken care of the land ahead of us. So with that, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves. As you know from registering, Lydia is our guest today, and it's going to be all about social media stuff. So when you do your introductions, I'm going to ask you for three things: name and your organization, where you're joining us from, and Lydia would like to know your comfort level with socials on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high. Um, and you can interpret that whichever way you want that to be. And she's going to take it from there. So I'm going to run down through the list and ask folks to introduce themselves. So Barry, I'm going to start with you, and then Carmelita, you're going to be next. And it's only because, buddy, your name starts at the top of the alphabet.
Indeed. Barry Lewis Green, and there's a reason why I include Lewis there, which I won't get into. For 30 years, was teaching at CNA as a business instructor, but these days my hat is with Epic Engage, and Epic Engage is a leadership training and development company that focuses on the role of character in building leadership. And my comfort level on social media, I'm tempted to say I'm a dangerous 7 or 8.
Okay. And where are you joining us from, Barry?
Oh, sorry, Mount
No problem.
Pearl, the Pearl.
Da Pearl. All right. We'll get the Pearl Curl going on later.
I
All right,
won't be doing it.
Carmelita, you're up next, and then Kathy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carmelita Morgan. I own and operate Karma Yoga with Carmelita Morgan, and I live in Deer Lake. I teach yoga and mindfulness all across the West Coast and across the province when I get the opportunity. I present at retreats. I've also had my own retreats. I do workshops and go wherever I have an opportunity to spread yoga and mindfulness.
Excellent. Thank you. And your comfort level with socials.
I was hoping you were going to forget that, Carol. Actually, it's mid-range, I guess, but I do get help with my socials. And
Excellent.
that's really takes a lot of stress away from me.
There you go. Excellent. Thank you and welcome. Kathy, you're next, and then Donna.
Okay, my name is Kathy DeLuca. I have a company I've named DeLuca & Co., but that might be changing soon. I'm brand new to the self-employment consulting world from a long history with software development or software implementation, training, change management, business analysis, and that type of stuff. Change management is my thing. I really love it, and I love training. My comfort with socials. I would say I'm more of a lurker than a user, but I've got to get over that. So visibility and being out there on socials it's like a brick wall that I have to get over. I have to climb over it. I can't break through it, so I'm going to climb over it.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for joining us. And where are you joining us from, Kathy?
Oh, Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Excellent. Thank you. Donna, you're up, and then Jennifer.
I can jump on the Halifax too. So my name is Donna Smith and I am in Halifax also, but I'm originally from Rocky Harbor, just up the coast from Deer Lake, which is really exciting. Lived in Ontario for way, way too long. So when I met Carol on a call that she came on in Halifax, I told her my whole goal of life was to be able to have something that I'm doing home instead of, but Nova Scotia is wonderful too, by the way. Love Nova Scotia. But being able to connect with people in Newfoundland was what I've always wanted to do. So this is my first time coming on here. So I'm really excited. So I am in Halifax that I mentioned, and I am right now, I own a company. It's called BNI Maritime. So what it is a organization that brings businesses owners together on a weekly basis. And our goal is to refer and give each other business as you get to know and like each other on every week as you're gathering. So BNI itself is globally around the world. So if you have a business that you can grow outside off your province, which Nova Scotia. So right now I have the franchise for Nova Scotia, PEI, and New Brunswick. They didn't give me Newfoundland because I got to ask for Newfoundland eventually once I get this up and going. So eventually we'll have one in Newfoundland. So I want to come and feel like I was living with people from Newfoundland, which is quite exciting. So, and my social media, I would probably give myself 8 or a 9. Like I do it. I've been doing it for years. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Welcome. And I'm actually heading to Nova Scotia next week, and I'm going to connect with Donna. So in
We
person.
get to meet
so
in
I'm
person.
super excited. Jennifer, you're up, and then Kelly.
Okay, hi guys. This is my first coffee break, so it's nice to see a lot of new faces. And Lydia, I've seen your face, and Carol and Carmelita, I've seen your beautiful faces. So I own the bookshop NL, which is a small indie bookshop in Corner Brook. And I started out as an online business actually in 2023 and then transitioned it. Still have the online platform to ship across Canada. But now it's so nice having a physical storefront, while small, very small, but it's still there. It counts. So it creates a space for the community to come in and connect and there's an event space attached as well, which makes it a really, really nice space to get everyone together. And like I said, in Corner Brook, and my level of comfortability changes daily with social media. Just when I think I figured something out, they change something. And I'm really comfortable. I would say I'm probably an 8 on Instagram and Facebook. But throw me into TikTok, like anything else other than that, I have no idea. I didn't know where the mic button was. So anything that I'm not comfortable with using regularly, throw me as a 2. I could figure it out with time, but it's always changing and evolving. So
Yep, absolutely. So just share a little quick anecdote. Jennifer, Carmelita, and I were at an event yesterday, and there was a marketing person who said 30-second videos, get you high engagement. So I decided to do one this morning. I said, I'll put learning to test. So my husband said to me after he saw it, he's like, either you're trying to be sexy or you're not even awake yet. So I was joking with Carmelita, and Terry Lynn will know. They know me well enough to know that I am not a morning person. So it is not the sexy part I was trying for. So sometimes you try things when you're supposed to do them. We'll see how it goes, right? Kelly, you're up, and then Miranda.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Lannon. I will have to keep my phone and everything muted because I have a brand new 3-month-old puppy who is decided today is the day he's going to do all the squeaky toys. So
Of course.
we have that. I'm with Bees Knees Event Planning and Marketing. So I do all kinds of fun events. Somebody asked me the other day if I did weddings, and I said, absolutely not. I do fun events, and weddings aren't fun. But my level with socials I'm probably an 8 with most of them, although I'm not as engaged as I probably should be with them, especially having a marketing background. But that's a work in progress. And I am here in beautiful Pasadena.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Miranda, you're up, and then Scott.
Hi, I'm Miranda Adams. I'm the sales director here at Deer Lake Horizon Hotel. So I'm coming to you from Deer Lake. It's beautiful here today in Deer Lake. My social level, you know what, Jennifer hit it, because anything that I know, I'm fine with. But you put me on a platform that's new, or like TikTok, no, cannot do anything with TikTok. But my Facebook and the Instagram stuff that I put out for work, I'm pretty comfortable with that. But I'd like to learn more, that's for sure. And what was the other thing we had to answer?
That's it. You
That's
got
it. Okay.
it. Because you slipped in your organization and where you were located all in the same time. So you were good.
Okay.
Scott, you're up, and then Terry Lynn.
Hey, Carol. So, Scott Andrews. I'm in not summer or spring, St. John's. I hope, Barry, it's better in Mount Pearl, but it's absolutely garbage here in the east end of St. John's. So I will be on the West Coast at the end of June. So I'm hoping summer will arrive in beautiful Pasadena and the West Coast. So yeah, I'm in St. John's. I work with a national nonprofit called Futurepreneur Canada. We primarily work with young entrepreneurs. So it's a big year for us. I'm going to Toronto Monday. It's our 30th anniversary. So as a national nonprofit, we've been helping young entrepreneurs get started in business across this country for 30 years on Newfoundland and Labrador. So basically, we provide small startup loans for young entrepreneurs who are looking at launch. Our age range is under 40. And outside of providing small startup loans, we also pair everybody up with a mentor for the first 2 years. So, and I know both Carol and Barry have volunteered to mentor with us. So if anybody here knows of young entrepreneurs we have staff in Nova Scotia, so we're all across the country. Anyway, we're trying to help more young Canadian entrepreneurs get started by providing them with financing and valuable mentorship. And as Carol always likes to say, we offer a whole free suite of online free resources, virtual sessions on business planning. We had an amazing session yesterday on all of the doing business with the government of Canada. So anyway, and even like from Lydia's perspective, we've held sessions for marketing and social media for people who don't like marketing and social media. Anyway, just all kinds of free stuff and you don't need to be within our age range for that. Social media, that's a contentious point with me. I would say my comfort level, I'm fairly comfortable when I have to use it. I avoid social media at all costs. I've never spent a minute on Facebook, Instagram, or Textbook. I use that as a badge of honor. I've never had a Facebook account, will never have a Facebook account. I do use LinkedIn, X, formerly Twitter, for work quite a bit. So I use it corporately. I never use it personally. And if something ever happens and I don't no longer work at Futurepreneur, I'll probably shut down all my social media. So I don't know where that comfort level is or where that puts me on the range, but that's it.
Appreciate the honesty. That's cool. So there's a bingo that I do sometimes for clients getting to know one another. And back in several years ago, we used to always have one that doesn't have a Facebook profile. And I had to take it off because there was nobody I could find that didn't have a Facebook profile. But if you're in the room, it's going on the bingo.
I'm the X on that one. You can put me there, right there.
Excellent. And Terry Lynn, thank you so much for joining us. Terry Lynn's got some crazy stuff going on at the farm, so I'm glad you're able to hop in.
Good morning, everybody. I apologize for my late entry and probably abrupt entry. Navigating some out of province family stuff is never easy. And all of my goats are crazy this morning. So my name's Terry Lynn Robbins. Thank you, Carol. And I am the co-owner of Robbins Family Farm here in Deer Lake, Newfoundland. And we are an agritourism multi-commodity operation. And we have, we're just a small farm. And I'm also the chair of Women in Agriculture NL. And my comfort level with social media, depending on the platform, usually sits between a 7 and a 9. Instagram being on the lowest, Facebook being my most comfort, and TikTok, I'm probably a 9 as well. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. So thank you everyone for the introductions. Lydia, I hope that gives you a bit of a background of who we've got here. I do encourage you, if you want to put any of your contact info in chat, feel free to do so. So promote yourself if you want to put in whatever your socials are or your email, phone number, whatever way, if you want to stay connected. I answered where I am and who I am, but I'll let you know, Lydia, of my comfort. I'm only on 2 platforms, LinkedIn and Facebook. I don't use Instagram. I don't use TikTok, any of those types of things, partly because I'm a business to business sale. So I'm not in those consumer spaces. I don't think pictures of me on Instagram standing in front of a room with a microphone is what people are looking for. And we do have, I'm chairperson of the Pasadena Heritage Society, and we have an Instagram account with them. And it's been idle for years until one of my board members said, "Can I take this over?" And she's phenomenal. So she's managing our Instagram for our heritage. She's doing videos and all kinds of stuff. So I would say I have very low comfort with that. LinkedIn and Facebook, I'm probably 8 to 9. There's things I don't know, but so I do want to thank Lydia. So how this came about, I went to the NLO conference a couple weeks ago, or a month ago now, I guess. And it was wandered by Lydia's booth, which was Amplified Social, and the ladies were absolutely stunning in all bright pink, and it was lovely to see them. So talk about branding, because they were nailing that. And she said, "I can audit your socials." And she said, "Give me your phone," and then held it up to my face to unlock it. And I'm like, okay. So it was kind of scary. And she's like messing around in my accounts, checking it out. So I thought, you know what, that was pretty cool. So I reached out to Lydia and asked her to jump on with us and kind of tell folks what you can look for and what are some of the things to think about. And she graciously agreed. So welcome, Lydia. I'll turn it to you. And if you want to introduce yourself a bit further and take it away.
Perfect. Well, good morning. I wish I was saying I was coming from somewhere sunny, but I'm here in paradise. So it's very foggy. I'm sure it's probably looking pretty equivalent to Scott on the East End. I'm not sure about you, Barry, but yeah, yesterday was nicer. But anyway, I won't talk about the weather for too long. So like Carol said, I work for Amplified Social. I am the director of client strategy. So I'm kind of, if you're working with us, like I'm your point of contact pretty much. I oversee all of the accounts, and whether it's social media management, whether it's website development, automations, email marketing, we're a full digital marketing agency. So I am pretty much your point of contact and touch point. So I just oversee everything. But anyway, I won't talk too much about, all that boring stuff. But so I wanted to talk about today, like Carol said, profile audits and optimizing your profile. Now I'm going to share my screen. I have a couple slides here. And I should say actually as well, don't hold your questions till the end. If you have a question that, comes up while I'm chatting, just blurt it out. I want it to be like a conversation. You don't need to hold it until the end. Now when I share my screen, I won't be able to see you. So if you raise your hand, I won't see it. So just come off mute and shout it on out. So let me
Feel
share
free to
this
type in
tab.
chat too, folks, if that's easier for you, and I can keep an eye on that for Lydia as well.
Thank you, Carol. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Alrighty. Can everyone see this okay?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So, okay, I know that we just talked lots about, everyone is on different platforms. So I'll say we specialize, I'll say, more in Instagram now. We're definitely well versed Facebook, LinkedIn, we dabble in TikTok, but I'll say like where a lot of profile optimizing comes in, and I see room for improvement, like for business owners, is on Instagram. So this is just kind of like a really quick guide. If I'm going too slow, tell me to speed up. If I'm going too fast, just let me know. I can slow down and we can revisit any points that I'm going over. So this is just kind of your quick overview. So I'm going to jump right into it, and we start with your handle and your username. So this applies, and at the end actually, so just so you're like, oh, this is about Instagram, I'm not on Instagram, this doesn't pertain to me. I'll just say at the end I have a couple notes, how this, this advice and tips relate to like both Facebook and LinkedIn. So we'll start here with Instagram, your handle and your username. So you want to keep it short, simple. We don't want to have any numbers, weird symbols, hashtags, exclamation points, things like that. Try and keep it as close to your business name as possible. So I know a lot of people will say, oh, my business name, that handle is already taken. So another formula, you could put location, whether that's NL. I mean, you could put St. John's, you could put, if you're in Corner Brook, you could put CB, etc. Or, if it's not a business name and it's more of like a personal profile, you could do your name and your service. So that's something, pretty straightforward, but I feel like, sometimes we need a little reminder. And yeah, so I also would recommend, you keep that name consistent across all your platforms just for brand recognition. So that is that. That one's pretty straightforward. So on Instagram specifically, your name field. So what I'm showing here, your handle is like your actual @. That's your like profile login, I'll call it. Your name field is below that. So this here is like a great area for SEO. So it's searchable on Instagram, not just your username. So for example, our handle is @Amplified Social, but then our name field, we will put Amplified Social and then we write digital marketing agency. So that's an opportunity for, when people are searching you, if they're looking for digital marketing or marketing agency, if they're searching that, that will also help you pull up in those search results as well. So yeah, like just this tip here, your formula, name, what you do /sell, and your location. Location is important, for some businesses and some not so much. Like we're virtual. Now we do, most of our business does happen in Newfoundland, but if you're virtual, maybe you don't need to include your location because you can kind of work wherever. Yes, and so your name field, you only have 30 characters in that name field. So this right here, I'm not sure how many characters this is right off the top of my head, but this is probably, the length that you're going to get. So that's your name field. Then, so our profile photo probably sounds pretty straightforward. You're probably like, oh, this is, I know all this, but I do like to say, use a clear, high quality image. If it's more of a personal brand, I'd recommend using your face, or, if your business, use just like a nice clean logo. So as always, just make sure everything is consistent with your other platforms. So LinkedIn, Facebook, website, make sure that that photo, whatever that profile photo is the same across all your platforms. That's just the general rule of thumb. So for your photo, make sure it's centered, make sure the edges aren't cropped off, and it's recognizable at a small size. So when you're on Instagram specifically, it's a super small circle. So if your logo is super small within um, the actual photo, it's not super legible or easy to read. So that's just a quick tip there. Oftentimes I see, the edges. Say if it's like a square logo, or it's a rather large or wider logo. Then when you put it in Instagram where it's that circle, often the edges will get cropped off. So what you can do, it's actually a super easy fix. I just pop logos like that, if we're optimizing a profile for someone. I'll pop that logo just into a Canva file and I just click like a square file, so like a 1080 by 1080 pixels, pop that logo in there. And then when you download and export that file, it's actually then appropriate for Instagram sizing, and for LinkedIn, Facebook, all that good stuff, where all those profile photos are that circle. So if you've got more of like a long, I'll call it rectangular looking logo, that's a good option. So you aren't cropping off those edges. So, all right.
So Lydia, can I jump in there and just ask a question? So that
please.
you going into Canva, then you're actually creating that specific, you're looking for Instagram logo or Instagram post or something, are you?
Yes, I can. I've actually only shared one tab, but let me revisit that at the end and I can just show a quick example of how that would look for sure. Any other questions so far? Am I going too fast?
No,
I
okay.
tend to talk quickly. Okay.
I didn't think about having the photo consistent on all platforms. I don't think I do that. I think I have them tailored for each platform.
Okay. I mean, yeah,
I don't know if that's intentional. It's probably just, I don't even think about it.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I suppose there's no right or wrong answer. It can just help with, I guess branding. And then,
I can see it being,
yeah.
I can see it being consistent would be something that, people then could recognize easier, I guess.
Right. Right. And that's totally the whole, the whole point. Someone sees that logo, they're like, oh, I know that logo, or face, if you're using your face, I recognize, his or her, their face. So, yeah, it's just kind of like a consistency thing. So whether that's your face or a logo.
Lydia, Barry here. I'm just going to jump in. This makes a lot of sense to me. I too don't have the same picture, but I'm thinking I'd probably want to have the same picture on Facebook, Instagram, but my LinkedIn is a different audience and a different purpose. So I'm thinking some consistency across the other platforms, but LinkedIn is a different beast in some ways, I think.
It totally is. I've just switched over so I can actually see you. Are you still able to see my slides? Sorry, perfect. Just so I can actually see your face when I'm talking to you. Is your LinkedIn set up as a personal one or a business LinkedIn?
I've got my personal profile, but I've got a company account as well.
Okay,
So
great. Yeah, and so when you're referring to the difference there, I'll say which page or account are you referring to on LinkedIn?
I use the same pic for both accounts on LinkedIn. It's still a little bit of an unorthodox picture. It's me laughing to the sky with a leather jacket on, and I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But I am thinking that I need to consistently put a different picture on Facebook and Instagram because I want to convey another vibe. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, listen, these are, I'll say, just some general tips. Like, whatever you feel suits your brand, then that works, and do that totally. And on the note of LinkedIn, actually, when I get to the end of my couple slides, I'll talk a little bit about, like, with LinkedIn, now it's really focusing on, personal profiles. So like, my Lydia Hickey over versus, amplified socials business page. Not to say go delete your page or don't use it, but LinkedIn values that, actual person-to-person connections as opposed to the business pages. So I'm glad to hear that you're there, like, using a personal page as well as the business one. That's really beneficial. So I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Any other questions so far, or thoughts, disagreements?
Am I able to interject about slide number 2?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm thinking about that now.
Yeah.
My name field is the same as my handle, which is
Yep.
like at the bookshop NL.
Yep.
But I'm wondering if I should change my name field for SEO to say like indie bookshop, or is that redundant? Maybe new used books, events. I don't know. Like, is that then long? Do you think
No.
it's searchable on its own? Like,
I mean, yes, but it doesn't hurt. Um, I actually, as you were introducing yourself, I was thinking about what you said as, like, when you were introducing your business, and I was like, oh, that'd be really nice in the name field. That's funny enough that you bring that up. I think you had said indie used books, or it was something, like you've just said now. I don't think it would be redundant. I mean, it helps SEO, sorry. So, I mean, I'd add it in there.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to throw out there, everyone knows what SEO is, search engine optimization. So it's what Google and search engines look for. Okay, just make sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of this, especially now, it all kind of ties back to, I know everyone's probably sick of talking about AI, but I guess it is, it's the new reality. So, if your profiles and, all of your social accounts are, optimized to the best of your ability, that just helps, people find you easier, because AI, is doing all that work. It's scraping everything, every piece of information on the internet. So the more that you have, it might sound redundant to you. I have to remind myself this as well. When I'm working on client accounts, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've said this message 100 million times. But that is the entire point of marketing, is, the same message, repeated over and over until, your targeted buyer is ready to purchase. So anyway, that's kind of, yeah, it's all of this really ties back to, just helping you show up better, especially now with, those, I'm sure everyone's seen it, when you Google something, the first thing to come up, it's not, the best, most optimized website now, it's the AI generated message. And then you get into your websites and other links and things like that. So, okay, bio. So I kind of put this as I'll call it the most important part. It's all important. But your bio is you have approximately 3 seconds to explain why someone should follow you, or at least, stay interested and keep looking at your profile if they get to your profile, right? So, chances are, if you're not following someone, you're probably seeing them from a post that shows up, or maybe it's like an ad, or someone sharing to their story, for example, on Facebook and Instagram. Or sharing, just sharing a post on LinkedIn. So if someone makes it to your page, your bio is then, that's your kind of selling point. So as a general rule of thumb, these are suggestions. Your line 1 is what you do or who you help, or who you help. Line 2, maybe a result or a transformation that your business has given, or your service. Line 3 is a trust builder. So that can be anything from, 25 plus years of experience, or like, some sort of credibility piece, or it could just be a vibe. So I'll show you kind of what amplifieds looks like. We actually went for more of the vibe one on line 3. And then line 4 is your call to action. You always want to be letting people know what to do, because, otherwise they're just scrolling on to the next thing, or, people get distracted quickly. So you want to give them like a next action if, you've gotten their attention from your bio. And I just popped this in here as well. So hashtags in your bio, I know that used to be like a huge thing, but they're actually no longer clickable. So using, I'll call it a niche hashtag, is actually just wasted space now. So that was just a quick tip I wanted to throw in there as well. Okay. And the bio, so important, is continued. So this is Amplified's bio, actually. So I kind of laid it out here. So line one, what you do and who you help. So, social media management, training and coaching. Then our line two is kind of like a result slash transformation. So, platinum in marketing and advertising 2024. Then our line three, this is where I said we kind of went just for vibes. So, amplify your business, kind of like our slogan type thing there. And then our call to action is book a discovery call. And then below that is the link in our bio to book that. So keeping it just concise. When I'm doing bios and, updating bios for clients and things, like I really, like I do actually, I sit with it for a little bit and every word and every letter, because you're limited to only a little bit of space, specifically on Instagram. It's all really important. So if you haven't looked at your bio in some time, it might be a good time to just check it out and see where you can maybe make things more concise or change things around. And this one here, pretty straightforward. On Instagram, you can select a category, beauty, consultant, retail, etc. I mean, there's a long list of things. And then make sure, you're adding your email. I'm assuming, everyone has an email that they can be contacted at. Phone, if relevant, if that's if you will take phone calls, I would add that in there. And then address. So some people ask, oh, I don't have a physical location, but, I service a certain area. So for example, maybe you service Deer Lake, but you don't have a brick and mortar. You could put that in there. That does help. Again, it helps with searchability. Yeah. And then I like to add, of course, because Instagram is, a bit tricky when it comes to links. So if you need more than one link in your bio, so say you have a website plus, I don't know, you want to give a resource or a book a call link or whatever it may be. Instagram now has a built-in multi-link option. I think you believe it's just currently you can add 5 links, or you can build a link tree or any other, link in bio tool. Okay, and then your highlights. So we like to call it kind of your mini website. It's kind of like a menu. If you want to use your highlights, great. And some people are just like, no, that's not really relevant to me, or, but if it's something that you're interested in doing, you could do services. And then when you open up that highlight, people can get, a really quick overview. Oh, social media management, website design, automations, so and so. Maybe tips, you'd like to give something that's valuable so people, want to come back to your profile. It's just nice to give value. Reviews, maybe a little bit about you, FAQs, just some examples. When we're doing these for clients, we just like to have it consistent. So we'll put like branded covers, just keeping the titles really short. Like, as you can see, like these titles are very short because otherwise it gets cut off on Instagram's, on your profile. Oh no. Yeah.
With the highlights, at one
Yeah.
point, weren't they going away?
They were. Actually, that's a good point.
I just went to sleep on them. I was like, man, whatever is on there is on there. And I just kind of ignored it and left it because I thought it was going to be removed from my profile.
Yeah.
And now I have a lot of really dated and actually like inaccurate stuff now in my highlights. So I'm like, oh man, now I got to go back and like refresh everything. Like if they're staying, I will. But like,
Right.
So as far as you know, they're here to stay.
That's actually a good question. Yeah. I know it's like I don't know if Instagram might have put it out as like a test or a pilot or something, and then people were angry. I'm not sure. That's actually a really good point. I had totally forgotten about that because they're still there. Again, I would, if you wanted, I mean, you could just remove some of the dated stuff, keep things in there that are still relevant. Yeah, I think it's just, if you want to put, that effort into having them there, then great.
I think it would benefit like my business in particular because I could think of some good categories to
Right.
share there. But I don't want to spend the time doing it if it was something that was going to be then, they changed their mind and the Instagram guy is like, actually, we're not doing this feature.
Right.
Yeah.
Gosh, as far as I know, and as far as I'm, aware of, I
Okay,
believe they're
I won't
saying.
hold it to you. If they take it away, I won't get mad at you. It's okay.
Okay, I'm like, listen, and when you were talking about, I'm, whatever number on the scale, I'm like, yeah, like I don't know if I would ever put myself at a 10 because the stuff is changing like overnight. And it's literally a job just even for me. I mean, this is what I do every day. It's a job for me to keep up with all of the changes on all of the platforms all the
Yeah.
time. So,
And we're all getting older. Like, what is going on? What, like, this is so, it's like
I know, I know, I know.
too
I
fast.
I hear you. I hear you.
Lydia,
It's
It was
Lydia,
funny
I have a
yesterday at
quick.
the session we were at. Sorry, Barry, just a sec.
Yep.
At the session we were at yesterday, somebody said, "Look, anytime I need to do something, I hand my phone to my 22-year-old friend, like or niece or nephew or whatever, because so age is a factor." Go ahead, Barry.
I'm finding this hugely valuable. I just don't know where you even find highlights. I'm trying to find it. I don't even know where even to find it. But yeah. So where do you find it, I guess is the question.
okay. Yes, there we go. Jennifer's quicker than me.
I can't
Can you?
see that.
No.
66-year-old eyes are not going to see that.
So when your highlight, like when you upload a story, so that's where your highlights come from. So when you upload a story in that, like in your bottom, it'll show at the bottom, add to highlight. Now, I will also say,
Okay.
if you have previous stories that you're like, oh, that would be, you can go back to your archive in your settings in Instagram and you can add them. You can, if you've created, how can I explain this? You'll have to start the highlight with something.
Gotcha.
And then if you have old content, that you've previously posted that you want to add to it, you can then go add that to, an existing highlight.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, and I haven't done stories. I've only done reels and
Okay.
posts. So I need to get into stories.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
mean, yeah, no, of course. And like it all I know it's overwhelming. You're like, I need to do this and I need to do that. And it can feel very overwhelming, but just do what feels doable for you. You don't need to overcomplicate it. So that would just be that's just my piece of advice.
Lydia, Carmelita's got a question.
Yes.
Hi, Lydia. You were all just talking about the changes, how many times they changed. I saw a big change across all the major platforms, and it really does affect me because I always like to see who shares my posts,
Mm-hmm.
and I just send out a quick thank you to them, just a little thank you or something for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I couldn't access it anymore. I said, what's going on? How come I can't see who's sharing my posts? So I did go in and look, and that's exactly what they did. They've taken that that ability off. I think it's for just privacy, whatever. But it's a big loss to me because now I never know who's sharing my posts, and I can't thank them. And that, I think they liked that. I noticed that they shared it and thanked them. So yeah, I don't know if there's any way around that or.
Is this on Facebook that you were looking at?
Yes, mostly on
Okay.
Facebook. Yeah.
Now I wonder, do you go, like, can you see it even if you go into your notifications, like that someone shared your post? That's why I'm wondering,
Yeah.
if that is.
I'd have to double check on that. I'm not sure, but I don't recall seeing that someone shared my post. Yeah, so I don't know. I really do. I mean, I just have to kind of let it go, but I almost thought about putting a blanket post out to say this, that I appreciate all the shares, but I can't access who's actually sharing anymore because of the change, Yeah, it's anyway,
Yeah,
if you find out something that you can do or if anyone knows, I appreciate being able to access that.
Yeah. I wish I had more of an answer or a solution for that. That's unfortunate.
It is. I do find it a big loss because, again, like I say, I like to show appreciation to everyone who's taken the time to share.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is really valuable. I wish I had a
That's okay.
solution.
If you do hear anything,
Yes.
you could probably shoot me out an email or a message to let me know, or just let us all know, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that.
All right,
That's,
thanks.
yeah, interesting. And Barry. Oh, I
Yeah,
think you're.
my apologies for interrupt. I can't seem to access chat, so I can't. This is the only way for me to communicate. An idea that occurs to me, because I haven't experienced that yet, but maybe a periodic post thanking everybody in general for sharing and so forth. Just some acknowledgement on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and say what you just said. I can't seem to access, to tell you I love your post, but I love your posts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Barry. Thank you. I will do, if I can't get back to seeing it, I'll certainly do that. That's a great idea. Thanks.
I think sometimes it depends on whether the person has made their share public. So like sometimes I'll get something that'll say 5 people shared your post, but I only see 2 of them.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
been my experience, Carmelita. So like if they've shared it only to friends and I'm not a friend with them necessarily,
Right.
is this your business page or your personal page?
Well, I do it on both, and I find the same thing. The access is not there on either one now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It might be a privacy setting that people have. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you know what? I know a lot of people who usually do share something, and so now they're not, and it has to be a change that's been made on the platform, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll look into that. I'm curious now, why. They
Yep.
they take stuff away for no reason. That's what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's
true.
working, and then they're like, "Oh, well, you don't need that anymore."
Right. But I will do those periodic posts. I like that. That's a good way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then people can share it as well, Carm. Like friends of yours can also share that,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
And another thing that I do, believe it or not, I talk to Chat a lot, and like he's my second boyfriend, I call him. So, because I had a little hiccup the other day, and I was asking Roseanne about it, and she's worse than me when it comes to social media. So she's like, "Ask Chat." So I did, and I did get myself out of that little pickle, but it was something I had to go do in settings. So it could even be something so small as that.
Right, right. Okay, thanks, Miranda.
Yeah, I think this just highlights how quickly all this moves, and that's the challenge, right? It's today we can leave here saying, "Oh, this works," and then
Tomorrow.
4 hours later something's different.
Yeah, it's true.
Jennifer?
I was just gonna comment on, I'm sorry, what's your name? You just spoke about chat.
Oh, Miranda.
Miranda, sorry. I was just gonna say that also it might be in your settings if you go in Carmelita and change your like settings and privacy and the settings of actual Facebook. And if you put it on for like more notifications, you can kind of customize how many notifications you get. So if you make it the most heightened, like every time someone likes a post, which if you like that, I do not like a million notifications, but it
No.
sounds like you do want to know when it happens. So if you change that, then you might get notified as someone shares, which would be more than one notification rather than 5 people shared your post and you don't know who they were, kind of thing. That might help. I don't know for sure
Okay.
though.
All right. Thanks, Jennifer. Thank you.
This is good. Any other questions? I'm almost done. I promise. Okay, so highlights. Yes. I don't know why these photos aren't working. I just wanted to, oh, this is disappointing. But I just kind of wanted to show a couple of examples, as you can see here, the Vision Development Center. So they're here in St. John's. This is their handle, but then, their full, their name is pretty long actually. So we wouldn't really have much room to add anything further than this. But, spell out their whole name here. And then, we put in eye exams, neurooptometry, vision therapy, glasses. There's your, and, like, as you can see here, we don't always follow, this like the Bible, I'll say. It's not written in stone. For them, we have a book now, and then which is their phone number, and now, mind you, down here in their contact button, their phone number, their email, all that is also down here too. And then, their location is here, but then their highlights here, you can see, we keep the actual name of them really short. And then, these are branded with their, I'll say, like, brand colors. Erin Baker _ designs is her name, but then in here we put in interior designer, because it's not, and even if it was Erin Baker interior designs, I would still do the same thing right here in the name. This here again, small projects to custom builds. I put the vibe one more at the top. Then I put, what they do in the second line. I put location in the third, and then their call to action. Call to action is pretty typically in line 4. And yeah. Okay, so after all of this, I just have 2 slides here just about Facebook and LinkedIn. So, just so it's actually beneficial, because you might be like, I don't want this to be, unhelpful if you're like, I don't use Instagram for my business. So a couple things, after all of what we've talked about, Facebook, the same bio structure works well. Like we've talked about, profile photo consistent with Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever platforms you're using. Now, what's different is the about section is more detailed. So, use your full business description, add in like a services list. You have a lot more room there, so use it. Again, just helps with SEO and discoverability. Facebook reviews. This is great. So if you ever, your Facebook and your Google reviews are very, very beneficial. If you, in whatever way you can, if you can get people leaving reviews on either Facebook and or Google, I would highly recommend that. It just shows credibility. Make sure they're turned on, you're actively asking for them, and then use that call to action button in Facebook. So that call to action button, it gives you a limited number of options, but use it, and then it sits right at the top of your page. And yeah, because oftentimes, like, it might be there and you might not actually realize it, and it's just set to the default. So take a look at that. And then what doesn't really work on Facebook is, all this keywords and, all that stuffing into your name that we've talked about on Instagram. So on Facebook, I would avoid that. It just looks more cluttered on Facebook. So I would avoid that there. Then for LinkedIn, so this is actually, I'm going to talk about more of the personal side of LinkedIn. This is something that, like, I've looked into more recently. Not to say that you shouldn't have a business page on LinkedIn, because I still think it has a role to play, absolutely. But LinkedIn is really prioritizing, the people to people connection instead of like business page to people. So, what carries over your name field and that headline. So SEO is even more important on LinkedIn. Your headline that you put, you can change your headline to be whatever you want on LinkedIn. Oftentimes it just defaults to whatever, the current role is that you're in, or, if it's, founder of XYZ company, that's typically what goes there, but you can adjust that to be anything you want. So that's kind of an equivalent to that Instagram name field, put in whatever you think would be best for SEO there. And then what's different, your banner image, it's the really, really skinny image at the top. Use that, it's free real estate. Your about section, a lot of characters here. So, tell a story, and with a call to action, like, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, use that, because people, and same, like, with a call to action, exactly like we're saying down here, what doesn't work. Short, punchy Instagram bio, it's not working on LinkedIn. So those LinkedIn audiences, they want more, context, professionalism, give them, some extra substance there if you've got the room. And then jumping back up here, featured section. So is kind of like LinkedIn's version of highlights. So if you've made a post, pin your best content, your booking link, case study, lead magnet, whatever it is, that's showing up, you get to someone's profile and then you scroll down and the next section is those featured posts. So put your best content there. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So any further questions? Sorry, that was a lot of talking.
That's okay,
So,
Lydia. Are you able to share your presentation with me and I can get it out to the participants? Is that okay?
I absolutely can.
Okay, so I'll do that for folks. I know, like me, you're probably all taking notes and I'm going to forget some of that. So,
Yeah.
Rather than having to watch the recording and keep zipping back and forth, I'll get that and send that to you after the session. I think this is great. I learned a few things. I don't even use Instagram, but I mean, some of the things that you mentioned. I just want to talk about the LinkedIn thing because that's interesting for me. And Barry, I'm kind of in Barry's mode as well. I have a business LinkedIn and I have my personal because obviously I've been working long before I had my business. And I was doing everything from the business page. But recently, I think just because of convenience, I was doing some stuff from my personal page. But this morning, thanks, Miranda. This morning, I went back to my business page, but I'm wondering now if they're prioritizing people to people, I probably should be coming from that.
Yeah.
But I think I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. When I just have somebody new reach out, I often ask them, how'd you find me? And they'll say, I creeped you. So I feel it's important that, you have a business page on LinkedIn, if that's the where your target audience is living. Maybe not post through it, but at least have it there that they can find you and say, okay, you're legit. There's something there. It's like your website. Some people say, well, I don't need a website. Well, maybe it's just a landing page as you've got there because people just want to know you're legit.
Yes. Yes.
Even though that may not be where you're selling from, or that may not be, I don't have pricing on my website, but I have a website. So yeah, that's just my observation. That was interesting.
Yeah. And like, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, don't use your business page, but this is just more of like a new thing that LinkedIn, again, it changes how it operates. But what we've recommended actually to clients recently is, if they have a personal LinkedIn page, post to that, but then share, maybe you don't need to share every single post to that business page, but that still keeps it updated without you having to duplicate, and make 2 times the content, right, for both pages. So that's a way of keeping it active as well and relevant, of course.
Excellent. Very.
I have sincerely loved all of this. This is really well timed for me. I particularly love the LinkedIn slide because it confirmed a lot of things that I'm doing well. I think that's the 8 or 9 dangerous, I think. One thought, because my business page probably has 100 followers, my LinkedIn profile has 8,400. So the personal thing is definitely where to put the energies. That being said, one of the functions in LinkedIn that I have found most useful of late is creating newsletters. So I have 4 weekly newsletters now, and the subscriptions are 600 to 1,500. So I've got 4,200 people who are getting emails with these newsletters. So I think the newsletter function is something to check out. When I think of the bookstore and I think of what, Ryan Holiday is doing with his bookstore down in Texas, a weekly newsletter on great reads would be absolutely incredible on LinkedIn. So I'm a big believer in LinkedIn. I love the content that I've heard with regards to Facebook and Instagram, and I'm going to be utilizing that. I've chosen not to do the TikTok thing, not because I'm anti-tech, but just, it's not my gig. But this has been really useful. So thank you.
Good. I'm so glad. That makes me happy to hear. I know it was lots about Instagram, but it all really does kind of roll over into the other platforms. It's just a little bit, different on each platform, but pretty much I'll say the rules are pretty, yeah, or recommendations I'll say are pretty standard across all of them. So
And
I think
if I could jump in really quickly, because I can't use chat, if anybody wants to look me up on LinkedIn, it's Barry Lewis Green. Yeah, and feel free to connect.
excellent. Thank you, Barry.
Right.
I have a question, and it's not necessarily just to you, Lydia, but for everyone, because this is something that I've struggled with. I have followers that follow me on Facebook and follow me on LinkedIn. And I don't know if I should always put the exact same content on both. Sometimes it's easier because you create one post, you just copy it, and it's easy to do. I know, and this is maybe just me as a personal, I get annoyed if I'm following Jennifer as a friend and I'm following Jennifer Facebook page and I'm following Jennifer on LinkedIn and I'm following Jennifer on Instagram, I don't want to see her message 6 times,
Right.
But there's that consistency part because to Barry's point earlier, some people are different. Like you may have 30% of your people are following you both on Facebook and LinkedIn, but the other 70% on Facebook aren't on LinkedIn and the 70% on LinkedIn aren't on Facebook. So I don't know, rule of thought. What do people think about doing the same message everywhere?
I think the algorithm in most cases, there will be very select people that are going to see if you've posted it in 3 different spots. Because unless they're following you faithfully every day, they're not going to see it most of the time.
Well, that's a good
And
point.
that's probably only, let's say, I'm thinking 10% are following you faithfully. So you got the 90% that you're more to worry about than the 10% that follow you faithfully. Because people that follow you faithfully, they're proud of you for posting it everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And I do change up, like I will do the same post on, like the graphics will be the same. And because I have a great friend called ChatGPT, which is called Sheila, I'll say how I want to, and I'll say what I want to say, but this is a LinkedIn post. It'll word it this way. This is Instagram and this is Facebook. And it gives me, it's worded differently, but the same for each platform. It changes it up for me all the time.
That's a good point.
So
thank you.
it does change. The graphic is the same,
Yeah.
but the wording, it just makes it shorter. On Instagram, it makes it like only 2 or 3 sentences versus Facebook. It does change it for you if you ask it, say, oh, can you change this to now go to Facebook? And it rechanges it a bit.
Yeah.
Cool. I like
That's
that
what I
idea.
do.
Okay. Thank you, Donna. Barry?
Yeah, I rarely share the same content, but with the podcasts that I do, they go on both platforms. But I'm always cognizant of advice that Gabrielle Bernstein shared when she did a public talk here years ago. I didn't even know who she was, but she made a really excellent point: is that whatever you're posting, think of who you're trying to send this to as a reader. So I will take my, and nothing against AI, but I will take my human brain and say, who do I really want to write this for? And I'll adapt that to that. But rarely do I share the same content on both. I see them as different platforms. But the podcasts and the videos and so forth, yeah, I will do it. Just changing up the words a little bit, keeping in mind who I'm trying to write to.
Yep. Good point. Jennifer, I know you're on multiple platforms. What are your thoughts?
It's kind of, I think Donna made some really good points. I kind of can relate to that because sometimes it's just about, for me, sometimes it's changing the image. So my Instagram, I used to have like a preset filter, which you can really just do yourself if you just kind of like take a photo and go into a photo editing and just put like maybe more a moody, darker filter on it, which is what I would normally do for bookstore vibes. And I would do that. So, but then necessarily when it gets shared to Facebook, my Facebook is not always like that. And there's a different audience there. So sometimes I might leave the filter off for that Facebook post. And there's many videos that I do not cross post automatically to Facebook because I know my Instagram people get it and will laugh, but my Facebook people could be a different audience, or maybe it's like I don't necessarily want them to see that side of me, or like there's certain things that sometimes I will omit from one platform, but I know Instagram wants to see that kind of inside behind the scenes more. So you really do, I think, need to think about the different platforms and your audience on each platform. I know TikTok can be unhinged. I just from being on there every now and then and watching it. So I think some of my content I could post on TikTok and then just share it to Instagram, because I don't have time to make a separate post for Instagram, TikTok. I don't even have LinkedIn, I don't think. Maybe should I? I don't know. There's so much. Like, where are we getting the time to do all the things? So on the event that we might be annoying some people, and I know you don't mean that like annoying,
Yeah.
Carol. You support much. So, yeah, but I get it too, because sometimes there's people I'm sick of seeing their face. But good for them. That means they're posting consistently and constantly, and I know about them.
Yeah,
It might drive me
exactly.
crazy, but I know about them. So brand awareness is the goal. I know about you.
Good point. Good point. Yep.
But to be sensitive, not to annoy people, and then be like, I know about you and I don't want to buy from you or go there because you drive me crazy, is also you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
It's tricky.
Mm-hmm. All very valid points. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, even for some clients, we'll do, we might cross post to Facebook and Instagram, but we're not sharing that funny reel to LinkedIn, because it's just not gonna resonate with people on LinkedIn. So yeah, I think just thinking about your content that way. And on the, I'll call it annoying part, that's how it feels. You feel annoying. That's how I feel every day when I'm marketing for businesses. I'm like, I feel so annoying, but that's just what it is. Everyone's brain is so full of everything else that, the messaging, it kind of needs to be reiterated until someone is actually ready to reach out or purchase or whatever it may be. Yeah. But also the good point about, over posting. I think there's also a line there too.
Yeah. I think the message we had yesterday at the session that Jennifer and Carmelita and I were at was about being consistent. If consistent is daily, it's daily. If consistent is once a week, it's once a week. Like it's not necessarily the volume, it's being consistent. And I'm like Jennifer, I know when I've slacked off because something else, either life or something else happened. I'm like, man, I haven't done anything for a while on here. I better get back at it, because to Donna's point with the algorithm stuff, all of a sudden you go out of sight, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think it's about how many times a day. I think it's just whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we find our platform, and like I've kind of let go of the idea of like I need to be everywhere and speak to everyone, and you will burn out so fast and kind of lose sight of what it is you're trying to do and who you're trying to talk to. And it's the world is too fast and too complex, and we're pulled in way too many directions that we're not even present anymore. And I really dislike that about the world now. And I'm very much be in the here and the now and value what we have now, and slow down. Like in a crazy fast world, like just slow down. Like, and but then I'm torn because the world is fast and I want to be a part of it. It's just such a challenge, like internal struggle.
It's true. I think too, and we've been having this conversation, several of us, the world right now is so heavy, right? So I think sometimes if somebody comes across a funny reel, like that's what we need. We need some of the lightness. We don't need everything to be
True.
so rigid. Sometimes it's, even in these sessions, Kathy talked about earlier, her puppy in the image. Like, I mean, I've had my cats walk by and the tail goes across. Years ago, that would have been mortifying, right? Because that's not professional. But we know that life is life and life is messy. And I think sometimes people seeing that side of us is not necessarily a bad thing. And you make a mistake, you own it or whatever. Like when people see that you're real. I think one of the presenters yesterday just made me laugh so much because he was so real. He started out with, I have ADHD. Well, he was squirrel. He was like this the whole time. But, he named it and we knew it and we identified with him. We didn't judge him. We didn't think he was a poor presenter. It was real. It was life, right? And I think most of us laughed for the entire hour because the guy's personality is huge. But, and I know him, like I've met him before, but, he called it out. This is who I am. And I thought that was great. Carmelita and then Barry. You're unmuted, Carm. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. And Carol will tell you, I'm all about trying to balance. And sometimes I think as a business person, a woman business person, probably more so, I don't know, but it seems that we have to grow. It's all about growth. Grow your business, get larger, get out there more and more and more. But I find that takes away from the things I enjoy in my life. And, like my family, my children, my great friends, getting out in nature, just going out for a coffee with someone, all of that. And sometimes I find even with this little business that I have that I love, I just don't want to be always focused on that. And I don't think any of us really should be, because it is all about balance. And it's so important. Time goes by so quickly. And I really see it with my little grandchildren. And I don't want to give that up, but I always kind of get a sense, and maybe this is just coming from me, but I get a sense that the value is not there if you're not growing your business. So anyway, I do struggle with that, but I'm kind of, I don't know if I sometimes at some meetings sound like a bit of a rebel, because I do say that all the time. But I just can't go that route. And if I'm not, looked on as a viable business because I'm smaller and looking at other important things, I guess that's the way it's going to be for me.
But I think that's so true, Carmen. I don't think it's on you. I think it's what people value, those that are putting those measures on people. It's I've had this conversation not that long ago with someone, hopefully a place that can be an advocate, to say, the solopreneur, actually, I think Ivana was on one of our calls. The solopreneur brings more value than a lot of people measure. Because we don't have payroll doesn't mean we're not valuable. So what you are measuring as value, Carmelita, might be different than what somebody else is measuring, but to you, that's your value, and you live your values of balance. And you, not just with showing me how to balance in yoga, but in your life, you embody it, and that's your value, and that's what's important. And, we only all have so much capacity. Barry, I know from my connection with him, has stepped away from certain things because his life has said, you know what, I don't have the capacity for that. So I agree with you. I don't think that the priority should always be the bigger, better, faster. And Jennifer, you said everything's so fast. Like, I don't think we all have to jump on all of that all the time, but we're like-minded here. So there's others that may disagree with us.
I have no idea how many followers each of you guys have, and I don't care. Like, I'm taking your value and judging you by how you show up and speak, and that's it. I don't care if you get 20,000 followers. I don't think you're any better than someone who has 2.
Well, I remember we had
that probably comes more from establishments, and groups rather than, individual people. And again, probably I do internalize it probably more than I should, but I do get that sense every now and again.
Yeah, it's out there. There's no doubt. I remember, to your point, Jennifer, I remember Sheldon from Newfound Marketing. He was talking about newsletters. He said, if you have 1 follower, it's worth doing your newsletter. Because it's not always about, if somebody is interested in what you're going to do and it's 1 or 2 or 200, then you do it. But, it's always not always about that. Barry, and then I know, Scott, you had your hand up too. Barry? Unmute.
Yeah, I'll try to be succinct. I love what Jennifer shared. I think it's about being strategic in terms of where you want to be. I'm quite comfortable with my Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, and I choose times that I'm going to spend time with each of those during the week. There's a couple of thoughts that ring up. One is from a rap song in the early 90s by Snap, and it goes, "Don't believe the hype, it's a sequel." And it really speaks to the notion of stop getting on the treadmill. Everybody's talking about this. You need to jump on this. No offense to AI, but I hear it with AI. If you don't jump on AI, you're going to be left behind. I said, behind where? So that speaks to me. And the other thing is that I can't say always, but I've tried to live with the notion, and we do this with our podcast, that slick doesn't stick. That if it's perfect, it's too glossy. It needs to be real, right? And I think, Carmelita, whatever you're doing is real, and be real and just be that.
Yeah.
And I will end my thought with this. I said this in a meeting the other day. People cannot find you unless you're you. The people who are looking for you are not looking for the poser. They're looking for you. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Excellent. Thank you, Barry. And I think that that rings true for so many of us that are especially solopreneurs. We are the brand, right? So, you are the face, you're the one answering the messages, you're the one posting, so it is about being real. I remember when I first started my business Facebook page, I can't put a picture of the cats on. My gosh, it's a business page, right? Well, now everybody's like, where are the cats? What are they doing? How are they doing? Like it's part of the business. I work from home. I work with cats, right? But in the beginning, it was like, oh, this is got to be professional. But like you said, Barry, that's too slick, right? That's not real. So thank you for that. Scott, I know you had your hand up earlier. I don't know if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I did, but I don't think I'm going to. It was more of a comment that
Okay.
Carmelita stirred it in me, and but yeah, it just triggered something, and I think it has something to do with social media because I just deal with younger entrepreneurs, under 40 who are, oops, dropped my pen, immersed in social media, grew up with social media, different than my generation, and which is amazing because I see the power and the benefit of it, but I also see the negative side of it, and it's exactly what Carmelita said, because, and again, I deal with New Brunswick, PEI, and Newfoundland and Labrador, and some of the stories that have been shared to me by the small businesses in rural Atlantic Canada would just make you cry. Like people, like you said, Carol and Carmelita, getting up every single day, one-person businesses, but making a real impact in their town, in their community, in their city, and yet because they're considered themselves small and we have a culture of, and they're just like, I don't think I have a story to tell or who would be interested in that. They don't then say it. And then they see the social media where everybody's projecting a different image and stuff. And I see then the real impact businesses are the ones you never, or sadly enough, they're just too busy. They're like, you know what, Scott, I just don't have the time to share that on all the platforms. I just got to get up. I got to take care of my family and kids and just run this business. And I love it. It makes me emotional and stuff. And but like Barry always says, we want to make sure that they're seen and heard in their own way, which is usually not on social media. So I'm always looking, well, how do we celebrate those entrepreneurs that get up there every day and make an impact, but yet are not projecting about it or telling about it on the channels, right? So that was it.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. This is part of why I do this community. It's a chance for people to connect. Scott and I've had this conversation. Scott's in St. John's. He doesn't get a chance to drive to the coffee shop anymore. Carmelita's in Deer Lake, even going from Deer Lake to Corner Brook for coffee. That's a 2-hour commitment beyond the actual coffee break. So, I'm using my skills to try to give people to, especially those of us that are solo, we don't always have somebody to bounce ideas off of. We don't get to share our wins with somebody. We're doing our thing. So as I said in the beginning, as long as you folks want to show up, I will continue to offer a place for us to gather. And if you have any suggestions of topics or anything that you want to see, then please share it. Lydia, I want to thank you. I know I kind of put you on the spot after, dealing with you. conference, and just so grateful you jumped in and said yes right away.
Of course, I was so excited. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for all of your questions. This is actually, it's my first time presenting, so I'll share that with you.
Oh, you did a great job.
Thank you. So I'm glad. I'm glad you all you folks really made me feel very comfortable. And so
This,
yeah.
that's the nice thing about building this community. Kathy and Don and I connect on Thursdays now, and it's a safe community. You know, it's places that we can be ourselves. We can be those authentic selves, like we were just talking about. Kathy, you want to jump in? You're on mute, Kathy.
Really quick word just at the end. I'm a lurker on Instagram. I don't post. I don't even know what to say. I didn't even know how to set my bio up. So this is really valuable to me, not necessarily what I'm going to say, but how to set it up as I go forward, and kind of take some of the scary out of it, and things that I can also take over to improve my Facebook and LinkedIn stuff. So I really appreciate Carol for bringing Lydia here to us today as well.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that's what it's all about. So I don't have the next event planned just yet, but I'm going to try to get one in probably late June. And then we usually kind of go quiet for the summer only because people are doing their thing and hopefully living life and enjoying summer while we have it. But again, if you have any suggestions or anything, I will say just keep an eye out for my newsletter or Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever, wherever you're connected with me, because that's where I'll post the next event. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, especially those of you that came for the first time. Hope to see you again. And for those that have been with me for a while, for 7 years, thanks for hanging in. So I'll give you back a few minutes of your day is what I like to say. You have 6 minutes left in your day. Don't tell anyone. Go enjoy it.
Thank you, Carol,
Great
so
meeting
much. This
everyone.
is wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a
Thanks,
great day,
folks.
everyone.
Bye-bye.